Okay, then in this video we'll talk about for loop. So in Python, a for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. And a sequence can be a list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, or even a string. Let's take a look how we can loop through a string. So let's create for loop first. So I'll say for, and then x in, and then I need to specify my string. So I'll write apple. That would be my string. So now let's print each letter in apple. So it's gonna look like this. So you see, I'm just printing each letter in this string. That's how we use for loop. So let's see how we can use for loop with a list. So I'll quickly create a list. It's gonna be fruits list. Now we'll say banana. That would be my first item. Then cherry. And the third one would be apple. So let's loop through each item in the fruits list. So again, I'll say for x in, and then in here I need to specify my list. So print, and I will print my items. So it should now print banana, cherry, and apple one by one. So you see, it's banana, cherry, and apple. So if you would like to loop through your code a specified number of times, you can use a function called range. So let's say you would like to loop through your code 5 times or 6 times. You can use a range function in that case. So I'll show you how you can use range function in a loop. So I'll say for, and then x in, and then I need to specify range. So my range function, and in here in the parentheses, I need to specify a number of times I would like to loop through my code. So let's say 5, and then I will print my numbers. So from 0 to 4. I will explain why from 0 to 4. So now if I print this, but let me comment out these ones first. So it's gonna print from 0 to 4. So the range accepts a number of times you would like to loop through your code, and it starts counting from 0. And it goes all the way up to the number that you specified in here, excluding that number. So in my case, I have specified that number to be 5. That means it starts counting from 0 and it goes all the way up to 4. So it loops through my code 5 times, but it starts counting from 0 and goes all the way up until 4. Okay? So with range, you can also specify a starting value. So it starts from 0 by default, but let's say you would like to start counting from number 2. So then you can specify it first. So there would be first argument in here. Then the second argument will be the number of times you would like to loop through your code. So in here, that's a starting point. I'm starting it from number 2, and it goes all the way up until 10. So let me show that to you. So you see, it's starting now from 2. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but excluding the number that you specified in here. So I would like to point out in here, this x can be anything. You can write, for instance, number, like this. And then it's gonna be number in here in the print, and it still works, you see? So this one is just the just iterator. So you're just iterating through your, for instance, in my case, range, and this is just a number, okay? In this particular case, if it's list, for instance, in here, I can write fruit item or whatever I like. Okay, so you can also specify the increment value. So by default, the increment value equals to 1, but you can specify it in here. So for instance, let's make it 2. So that means my increment will be 2. So starting point will be 2, and then increment will be 2. That's why in the next iterator number will be 4, and in the third iterator the number will be 6, 8, and that's it. And 10 will not be in my loop. So I'll show you what I mean. So you see, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's starting point. That's the number of times you would like to iterate through your code, and that's increment. So now let's discuss some other things that you can use in a for loop. So the first one is break statement. So from the previous video, you already know that the break statement can stop the loop before it has a loop through all the items. So for instance, I can say in here, let me uncomment this and put this one here, so we work with fruits list. So I can say in here, if the item equals to cherry, break the loop. So that means it's just gonna print banana. So I'll show you what I mean. So I can say if x equals to cherry, then break the loop. So what happens is it starts with banana, it prints it, and banana is not equal to cherry. That's why it's not gonna break the loop. So the next item is cherry. It's gonna print cherry, and in here it goes to if statement, and since cherry equals to cherry, it's gonna break the loop. That means apple will not be printed out. So let's see. You see, it's printing out banana and cherry. So you can also use continue statement in a for loop. If you use continue statement, it will stop the current iteration of the loop and continue with the next one. So let's modify this code, and I will say if it's equal to cherry, then continue, don't print out. That's why I will I'll put this print statement after this continue statement, like this. So again, what happens is it prints banana, that's fine. And when it comes to cherry, it's not gonna print it because it goes to if loop. And since if in the if loop, since cherry equals to cherry, it's gonna continue with the next iteration. So it's not gonna print cherry. So let me show that to you. So you see, it's printing banana and apple, but not cherry. So you can also use else keyword in a for loop, which specifies a block of code that can be executed when the loop is finished. So we already discussed this else statement or else keyword that you can use in loops. So let's see what we can do with this. So I will say in here at the end else, and then I will say in here print finished the loop. What's happening in here is once my loop is over, it goes to this else block and execute my statements. And in my case, I have only one statement, which is print statement, and it's just executing finish the loop. So let me show that to you. So you see, it's printing banana and apple, and at the end it's saying finish the loop. And I would like to point out in here that else block will not be executed if the loop is stopped by break statement. So if in here it was break statement, this wouldn't execute it. Okay? So if I say, for instance, break, if if I say in here, if this one equals to cherry, then break, right? So if it equals to cherry, then break. So in this case, I'm breaking the loop. That's why else loop will not be executed. So let me show that to you. So you see, it's printing banana and cherry, but it's not printing apple, and it's not printing else block either, because I'm breaking my loop. All right. So that means with the break loop, if you have a break statement, else block will not work. Okay. So now let's discuss one more thing relating to for loop. So with for loop, you can also create nested for loops. So nested loop means a loop inside a loop. So let me show you how to work with an inner loop. So I will quickly create two lists. The first one will be color list, and I will say red, white, and then blue. So, and the second one will be my objects, and it's gonna be house, car, and pencil. So house, car, and pencil. So let's create inner loop in here, or nested loop. So if we create nested loop, what happens is inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. So in my case, this color will be my outer loop, and my inner loop will be objects. So that means for each color, there will be objects will so the items in the objects will be iterated one by one. So for instance, in the first iteration, the outer loop will be equal to red, and it's gonna be red house, red car, red pencil. And with the second item in the outer loop, white, it's gonna be white house, white car, white pencil. Okay, so let's do that very quickly. So I'll say for x in color, and then in here I need nested loop. So inner loop will be for y in objects, and then now I need to print x and y. So let's see. So you see, it's red house, red car, red pencil, and then white house, white car, white pencil, and etc. Okay, so that's how you create a nested loop in Python. So that's it regarding this video, and I will see you in the next one.